Can you love someone whose hands are stained with blood? Not metaphorically, actually stained. Zara asked herself this question the night she saw Min Jae slap a man so hard his lips split open. The same hands that held her gently. The same hands that traced her face in moonlight. Love isn't supposed to come with a body count, but sometimes it does. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go back to the beginning. Back to the night Zara Adeni got lost in Seoul and found something she wasn't looking for. The rain came down like a verdict. Cold, final, unforgiving. Zara stood under the shelter of a convenience store awning, watching the neon signs of Gangnam blur through the downpour. Her phone dead in her pocket, her pride equally deceased. She'd missed the last train. Classic. Her friend had warned her about the subway schedule. But Zara, in her infinite wisdom, had decided to walk just a little farther to see the Han River at night. Now the river was somewhere behind her in the darkness, and she was somewhere she didn't recognize. And the city that had seemed so beautiful 3 hours ago now felt like a maze designed to swallow her whole. She pulled her jacket tighter. Nigerian winters didn't prepare you for this biting, bone-deep cold that felt personal. Lost. A voice, quiet, in English but with that soft Korean accent that always made questions sound like observations. She turned. A man stood a few feet away, umbrella in hand, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her entire semester's rent. Tall, composed, eyes that looked both ancient and achingly young. He wasn't smiling, but something about the way he tilted his head suggested he found her situation interesting. I'm fine, she lied, because admitting vulnerability to a stranger in a foreign country at midnight seemed like the opening scene of a horror movie. You've been standing here for 20 minutes. He glanced at his watch. The rain isn't stopping, and you keep checking a dead phone. She blinked. Had he been watching her? That's not creepy at all. Now he did smile. Barely. Just a whisper at the corner of his mouth. There's a cafe around the corner. Moonlight Brew. It's warm. They have chargers. And the owner doesn't ask questions. You're the owner, aren't you? I'm someone who remembers what it's like to feel lost in a city that doesn't care. Something in his voice made her look at him differently. Not as a potential threat. As someone who understood. Which was somehow more dangerous. Just coffee, she said. Just coffee, he agreed. The cafe was exactly as he described, small, warm, smelling of cinnamon and old books. Jazz played softly from invisible speakers. Only 2 other customers, both absorbed in laptops. He led her to a corner booth, brought her a towel without asking, and disappeared behind the counter. When he returned with 2 cups, she noticed his hands. Strong, scarred across the knuckles. Hands that had hit things, or people. She filed that observation away. I'm Zara, she said. Min Jae. He sat across from her, not beside her. Respectful distance. You're not Korean. Nigerian. Architecture student. Exchange program. She wrapped her hands around the cup, letting the heat seep into her fingers. You're not a barista. No. So what are you? He paused like he was choosing between truths. Complicated. She laughed. Actually laughed. That's the worst answer I've ever heard. It's the most honest one I can give. They sat in silence for a moment. The kind of silence that didn't need filling. Outside, the rain continued its percussion solo against the windows. Inside, something shifted. Not big. Just a small crack in the universe where 2 people who shouldn't have met were suddenly sitting across from each other, drinking coffee at midnight. Tell me something true, Zara said suddenly. About you. Something you don't usually tell strangers. Min Jae looked at her for a long moment. I used to want to be an artist. I studied in London. Painting mostly. Abstract expressionism. My family needed me to come back. So I did. I haven't picked up a brush since. The sadness in his voice was so carefully controlled it almost wasn't there. Almost. That's not a true thing, Zara said softly. That's a sad thing disguised as truth. His eyes flickered. Surprise. What's the difference? Truth sets you free. Sadness just makes you honest. He stared at her like she'd just spoken a language he'd forgotten he knew. Then he stood, went to the back of the cafe, and returned with a sketchbook. He placed it on the table between them. I lied. I drew something. Yesterday. First time in 8 years. She opened it carefully, like it might crumble. The page showed the Han River at dawn, rendered in charcoal, all shadows and negative space and longing. It was beautiful. It was devastating. Why yesterday? She asked. I don't know. Maybe I was tired of being someone I'm not. Zara looked up at him. Really looked. Past the expensive suit and the controlled demeanor and the careful walls. Saw someone drowning in slow motion. Someone who'd forgotten how to ask for help. I should go, she said, even though she didn't want to. I'll drive you. You don't have to. I know. The car was sleek, black, luxurious in that understated way that screamed wealth without shouting it. He drove in silence, and she gave him directions to her dormitory, and the city lights painted kaleidoscope patterns across the windshield. When they arrived, she hesitated before getting out. Thank you for the coffee and the honesty. Come back tomorrow, Min-jae said. Not a question, not quite a command, an invitation that felt like a confession. I'll show you the rest of the sketchbook. She should have said no, should have recognized this for what it was. A door opening to somewhere she couldn't return from. But Zara Adeni had always been drawn to beautiful, broken things. Okay, she whispered. She didn't see the black sedan that had been following them 3 cars back. Didn't notice Ji-Woo in the driver's seat, jaw clenched, watching Min-jae watch Zara walk away. Didn't hear him make the phone call that would set everything in motion. But Min-jae did. He saw it all. And for the first time in 8 years, he felt something stronger than resignation. He felt afraid. The next afternoon, Zara told herself she was going back to return his kindness. Maybe bring him some chin-chin, those crunchy Nigerian snacks her mom had packed for her. A cultural exchange. Nothing more. She was lying to herself and she knew it, but lying to yourself is different from lying to others. More forgivable. More necessary. The cafe was different in daylight. Still quiet, but the shadows had retreated, and she could see details she'd missed. African masks on the walls, small sculptures from what looked like Benin, a painting that resembled the Zuma rock formation. Her breath caught. Min-jae emerged from the back, this time in casual clothes. Black turtleneck, dark jeans. He looked younger, less like armor, more like skin. You collected African art, she said instead of hello. I collected beauty, he corrected. It happens to be African. That's a line. It's true. He gestured to a stool at the counter. I traveled to Lagos 5 years ago. Business trip. I was supposed to stay 3 days. I stayed 3 weeks. Your city. It's alive in a way Seoul isn't. Chaotic. Colorful. Everyone's hustling, but everyone's also laughing. I'd forgotten what that looked like. Zara sat, placing the bag of chin-chin on the counter. From my mother. She sends these to remind me I have a home to return to. He opened the bag, tried one, and his eyes widened slightly. It's good. It's love in snack form. They fell into conversation easily, the way some people do when they're not trying to impress each other, just trying to be known. He told her about growing up in a house with 17 rooms and 0 warmth. She told him about growing up in a 2-bedroom flat where her mother sang while cooking and neighbors were basically family. He described the pressure of expectations he never asked for. She described the pressure of expectations she'd begged for. Being the first in her family to study abroad, carrying everyone's dreams on her shoulders. Do you resent it? Min-jae asked. Carrying all that? Sometimes, Zara admitted. But then I remember my dad. He died when I was 7. Car accident. But before that, he used to tell me stories about buildings that could change the world. Libraries in poor neighborhoods. Bridges that connected divided cities. He said architecture wasn't about buildings. It was about hope made visible. She paused. I don't resent it. I just wish he'd seen it. Something flickered in Min-jae's eyes. Pain. Recognition. Guilt. Passed so quickly she almost missed it. He'd be proud, Min-jae said quietly. You didn't know him. I know you. The weight of those 3 words hung between them like a promise neither of them had agreed to yet. Over the next 2 weeks, Zara returned to Moonlight Brew 6 times. Each visit lasted longer. Each conversation went deeper. He showed her his full sketchbook, years of art compressed into stolen moments. She showed him her architecture designs, buildings that looked like prayers made concrete. They shared meals, taught each other words. He learned that Oga meant boss but also respect. She learned that Jong was a Korean concept of deep emotional connection that didn't translate cleanly but felt like roots growing between people. On the 8th visit, he took her to the rooftop. Seoul spread beneath them like a circuit board, all lights and electricity and humming life. The Han River snaked through it, dark and reflective. Zara stood at the edge, wind whipping her braids, feeling both infinitely small and powerfully present. "I come here when I need to remember," Min-jae said, standing beside her. "Remember what? That there's a world outside the one I live in." She turned to look at him. His profile was sharp against the city lights, all angles and shadows and barely controlled longing. "What world do you live in, Min-jae?" He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was barely audible over the wind. "One where every choice was made for me before I was old enough to understand what choosing meant. One where leaving means betraying everyone who depends on you. One where staying means betraying yourself. That's not a world. That's a cage." "Same thing sometimes." Zara reached out, took his hand. His fingers were cold. She warmed them with hers. "My dad used to say, the cage is only as real as you believe it is." I never understood what he meant. I was 7. But now. She squeezed his hand. Maybe he meant we build our own prisons out of other people's expectations. Min-jae turned to her, and the look in his eyes was so raw, so desperate, so hungry for something he'd stopped believing he deserved, that Zara felt her heart crack open. "I'm not a good man, Zara. I'm not asking you to be. You should. Maybe I'm not a good woman." He laughed then, short and sharp. "You're the best person I've met in 10 years. Then you need to meet more people." He kissed her, or she kissed him. Later, neither could remember who moved first, only that the space between them collapsed like it had been waiting to, like gravity had finally won, like every conversation had been leading to this moment where words became insufficient and touch became language. When they broke apart, breathless, the city lights seemed brighter. "This is a mistake," Min-jae whispered. "I know," Zara whispered back. They kissed again anyway. What Zara didn't see, Ji-Woo, 2 buildings over, watching through binoculars, his face a mask of controlled rage. What she didn't know, this was the moment everything started to unravel. If you're watching this and thinking, this is too good to be true, don't worry. You're right, because 3 days later, Zara's world caught fire. It started small, a black sedan following her from campus. She noticed but dismissed it. Seoul traffic was heavy, lots of similar cars. Then her phone rang from an unknown number. When she answered, the line was silent for 10 seconds before disconnecting. Then it happened again, and again. She mentioned it to Min-jae during their next meeting. He went very still. That dangerous kind of still where you know someone's calculating threats and responses. Describe the car. I don't know. Black, expensive looking, tinted windows, license plate. I didn't. Min-jae, you're scaring me. He forced his expression to soften, but she could see the machinery behind it, the way he was performing calm while feeling anything but. I'm sure it's nothing, but be careful. Text me when you get home every night. That's excessive. Humor me. She did, because despite the warning bells starting to chime in the back of her mind, she trusted him, which was her first mistake. Trust is currency, and she'd spent it without checking the exchange rate. 2 nights later, she decided to surprise him. She'd finished a major project early and wanted to celebrate. Wanted to see his face light up with that rare, unguarded smile he saved only for her. She took a taxi to the address he'd once mentioned, an office building in Gangnam where he supposedly managed family investments. The building was glass and steel, modern and cold. The lobby was empty except for a security guard who waved her through without question when she mentioned Min-jae's name. That should have been her second warning. Buildings like this didn't let strangers through. Unless she wasn't a stranger. Unless they'd been told to expect her. Unless this was a trap. She took the elevator to the 15th floor. The doors opened to dim lighting and muffled voices. She followed the sound down a hallway lined with abstract art, beautiful things hiding ugly realities. The voices came from a conference room with frosted glass doors. She could see silhouettes, multiple men, and Min Jae's voice, but different, harder, colder, speaking in rapid Korean she couldn't follow. Then she heard the slap, the crack of palm against face, a man's cry of pain. She pushed the door open. The scene assembled itself in her mind like a photograph developing. 8 men in suits, half standing, half sitting. Min Jae at the head of the table, hands still raised, face carved from ice. A man on the floor, blood dripping from his split lip. And on the table between them, guns, cash, documents that even from the doorway looked illegal. Min Jae's eyes met hers. And in that moment, she saw him see her seeing him. Saw the mask crack. Saw the real man beneath the coffee shop artist, and he was terrifying. Zara. Her name sounded like a funeral in his mouth. She couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't reconcile the man who'd kissed her on a rooftop with the man who'd just hit someone hard enough to draw blood. Ji-Woo appeared beside her, grip firm on her elbow. Miss Denis, you should leave. Don't touch her. Min Jae's voice cut through the room like a blade. She shouldn't be here. Ji-Woo's tone was respectful but firm. You know that. I said don't touch her. The room held its breath. Every man in it understood the subtext. Min Jae was willing to break protocol for this woman, which meant she was either incredibly important or incredibly dangerous. Possibly both. Zara pulled her arm free, stumbled backward. What is this? Business. Min Jae moved toward her slowly, like she was a wild animal about to bolt. Zara, please, let me explain. You hit that man. He stole from us. There are consequences. Us? What us? What are you? The question hung in the air. Min Jae looked at the other men, then back at Zara, and she could see him doing the math. Truth or lie? Safety or honesty? In the end, he chose honesty, which was somehow worse. My family controls significant portions of Seoul's underground economy. Real estate, shipping, pharmaceuticals. Not all of it is legal. I'm being trained to take over. The room tilted. Zara grabbed the doorframe for support. You're, what? A gangster? That's an oversimplification. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you a mobster? Is that better? A crime lord? Zara, you lied to me. I never lied. I just didn't tell you everything. That's the same thing. Her voice cracked, and she hated herself for it. For being weak. For crying in front of these men who looked at her like she was a problem to be solved. You let me fall for you knowing. I fell for you too. He said it quietly, desperately. That wasn't fake. Nothing between us was fake. Except everything about who you are. I'm still the same person who showed you his sketches. Who taught you Korean slang. Who? No. She backed toward the elevator. Tears streaming now, hot and angry. That person doesn't exist. You're just good at pretending. Please, don't go. Let me. What? Explain how you hurt people for a living. Explain how those gentle hands have done things I don't want to imagine. Explain how I was stupid enough to believe. She choked on the words. I loved you. God help me. I loved you. Past tense. His voice broke on the question. She didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was too complicated, yes and no and still and never again all tangled together. So she did what she'd always done when love got too dangerous. She ran. The elevator doors closed on his face. And she didn't look back. What she didn't see. Min Jae collapsing into a chair, head in hands. Ji-Woo approaching carefully. She was always going to find out eventually. Get out. Hyung. I said get out. And for the first time since his brother died, Min Jae wept. Zara spent the next 3 days in her dorm room, ignoring classes, ignoring calls, ignoring everything. Her roommate brought her food she didn't eat and asked questions she didn't answer. On the 4th day, there was a knock on her door. Dr. Nari-Han stood in the hallway, elegant and composed, with eyes that looked like Min Jae's but softer, sadder, more knowing. May I come in? Who are you? Min Jae's sister, and someone who understands what you're feeling. Zara should have slammed the door, should have refused. But there was something about this woman, a weariness, a kindness that felt safe. So she let her in. Nari sat on the edge of Zara's desk, looked around the small room, and sighed. He didn't tell you about the family. That's one way to put it. He was trying to protect you. From what? The truth. From us. From a world that destroys everything it touches. Nari's voice was gentle but firm. I'm a therapist. I've spent 15 years trying to save my family from itself. My younger brother died because of this life. Min Jae came back from London to take his place. He didn't want it. But duty in Korean families, it's not a choice. It's gravity. He still hit that man. Yes. He's involved in illegal things. Yes. You're not trying to defend him. No. Nari looked at her directly. I'm trying to give you context, not excuses. Min Jae is both things, the man you fell in love with and the man you saw in that room. People are never just one thing. They're complicated, contradictory, capable of gentleness and violence simultaneously. I can't love someone like that. Can't? Or won't? Zara's throat tightened. What's the difference? One is about capability. The other is about choice. Nari stood, moved toward the door. He's trying to get out. Has been for years. But getting out of this life isn't like quitting a job. It's like removing a tumor wrapped around your vital organs. You might save yourself, but you'll destroy everything else. Then he should do it anyway. Even if it means people die? The question hung heavy. Zara had no answer. Nari paused at the door. He won't contact you again. He asked me to tell you that. He thinks you're safer if he stays away. But Zara, if you're gonna walk away completely. Half love is more dangerous than no love. It leaves doors open that should stay closed. She left, and Zara sat in the silence, trying to figure out what she wanted. Trying to figure out if what she wanted mattered. The answer came 2 weeks later, delivered in an envelope slid under her door. Inside, a plane ticket to Lagos. Departure date, 3 days from now. And a note in Min Jae's handwriting. You came to Seoul to build bridges. I'm sorry I burned the one between us. Go home. Be safe. Forget me. You deserve a love that isn't wrapped in shadows. MJ. She should have been relieved. Should have taken it as the clean break she needed. Instead, she felt something worse than heartbreak. She felt erased. That night, she booked the flight, packed her things, wrote her own note that she'd never send. You showed me beauty in a city that never cared for me, but I can't love someone whose kindness lives beside fear. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. On the day she left, she didn't go to the cafe, didn't say goodbye, just got in the taxi, went to the airport, and flew away from Seoul like it had been a dream she'd woken up from. But Min Jae knew, because Ji-Woo told him. And for the second time in a month, Min Jae broke. He went to his sister's apartment, showed her the evidence he'd been collecting for 3 years. Financial records, recorded conversations, proof of every illegal operation his family ran. I want out. This will destroy the family. I know. Father will never forgive you. I know. You could be killed for this. I know. He looked at her with eyes that had already made peace with death. But I can't be this person anymore. She saw me, really saw me, and I couldn't stand what I looked like through her eyes. Nari took the evidence, held it like a bomb. You're sure? I'm sure. Then let's burn it all down. Took 6 months. 6 months of carefully leaked information to the press. 6 months of international investigations. 6 months of Min Jae wearing a wire and recording his own father giving orders that would put him away for life. 6 months of death threats and safe houses and Ji-Woo's increasingly unhinged attempts to stop what he called betrayal. The final confrontation happened in the same conference room where Zara had seen the truth. Min Jae's father sat at the head of the table, older suddenly, grayer, diminished. You've destroyed everything I built. You built it on bones, Min Jae said quietly. Someone had to stop it. I saved you, gave you everything. You gave me a cage. His father laughed bitterly. And now you're free? You think exposure makes you clean? You're still my son. still stained with the same blood. Maybe, but at least I'll sleep at night. You'll sleep in a cell. They'll come for you too. I know. I'm testifying against myself. Full confession. Whatever time I deserve, I'll serve. His father stood, looked at him like he was a stranger. You did this for her, that African girl. She made you weak. No. Min-jae met his eyes steadily. She made me human. The arrests happened over a span of 72 hours. 43 people taken into custody, including Min-jae. The news cycle exploded. Air destroys criminal dynasty. Seoul's biggest bust in decades. The man who betrayed his father. But buried in the chaos was a smaller story. A story about a journalist named Marcus Adeni who'd been investigating the same family 20 years ago, who'd died in a suspicious car accident, who'd left behind a wife and a 7-year-old daughter. The family had ordered the hit, and now they were paying for it. Zara saw the news in Lagos, saw Min-jae's face on every channel, saw the truth about her father's death spelled out in black and white, and she felt the earth shift beneath her. He'd known, had to have known, and he'd still loved her. She wept for 3 days straight, for her father, for Min-jae, for a love that had been doomed from the moment their worlds collided. Her mother found her on the 4th day, brought her tea, held her while she shook. You loved him. I don't know what I felt, Mama. Yes, you do. That's why it hurts. He's connected to Daddy's death. He's also the one who exposed them, who gave your father justice. Her mother's voice was gentle but firm. People are complicated, Zara. Your father taught me that. He investigated terrible people, but he also believed everyone deserved a chance at redemption. He'd want you to decide what this man deserves. I don't know what he deserves. Then maybe it's time to find out. But Zara didn't go back. Not for a year. She threw herself into work, opened a small architectural firm, took on projects that her father would have loved. Community centers, schools, libraries. Built beauty where there'd been emptiness. And then, one afternoon, an email arrived. Subject line, project proposal. The client, MJ Construction. The job, design a bridge connecting Seoul and Busan. Themed, light and reconciliation. Her hands shook as she read. At the bottom, a note, no obligation. But if you're interested, the consultation is scheduled for next month in Seoul. I won't be there, but someone should build beautiful things from the ashes. You're the only person I trust to do it. She almost deleted it, almost said no. But then she remembered her father's words. Architecture isn't about buildings. It's about hope made visible. She accepted the job. The bridge design consumed her for 3 months. She poured everything into it. Grief and love and anger and hope all transmuted into steel and light and impossible physics. It would be the most beautiful thing she'd ever created. A structure that held opposing forces in perfect tension. The day she arrived in Seoul for the unveiling, the city felt different. Lighter somehow, like it had exorcised something dark. The bridge stood against the sunrise, all graceful curves and suspended cables that caught the light like prayer. She stood at the base, looking up, trying to feel proud. Trying to feel anything except the hollow ache that had lived in her chest for a year. It's perfect. She turned. And there he was, Min-jae, thinner, older, with new lines around his eyes and a quietness that felt earned rather than performed. No bodyguards, no expensive suit, just jeans and a simple jacket and hands in his pockets like he was afraid if he took them out, he'd reach for her. What are you doing here? Her voice came out sharper than intended. Defense mechanism. Armor. I built the company that commissioned this. Thought I should see what 13 million won bought. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I was joking. Bad joke. I'm bad at this. At what? Talking to you like we're strangers when you're the person who knows me best in the world. Zara's breath caught. Around them, workers prepared for the ceremony, setting up chairs, testing microphones. But in this moment, it was just them. Just two people who'd loved each other badly and lost each other completely. I thought you were in prison. I was. 8 months. White-collar facility. I testified, cooperated fully, got reduced sentence. I'm on probation for 3 years. Can't leave Seoul without permission. Can't be involved in any business dealings without oversight. Can't. He paused. Can't be the person I was. Who are you now? I don't know yet. Still figuring it out. I teach art twice a week at a community center. I'm in therapy. With someone who isn't my sister. I'm trying to, I don't know, atone? That sounds religious. Make amends? That sounds like a recovery program. I'm trying to be someone I can live with. Zara studied his face. The changes weren't just physical. Something fundamental had shifted. The darkness that used to cling to him like cologne had lifted, leaving something raw and uncertain but clean. My father, she said quietly. Did you know? Before you met me? Min Jae closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were wet. Not before. 3 weeks after. Ji-Woo found out who you were, ran a background check. Told me. Said you were dangerous, that you'd come to Seoul because you suspected something, that I should stay away. He laughed bitterly. I didn't believe him. Thought it was coincidence. But then I started digging and I found the files. The order came from my uncle. My father knew about it, approved it afterward. Your father was killed because he was close to exposing everything. And you said nothing. I was a coward. I thought if I could love you hard enough, it would somehow balance the scales. Like my love could pay the debt my family owed yours. Which is insane. Which is the logic of someone who's never had to take responsibility for anything. He wiped his eyes roughly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's not enough, I know. Nothing I say will ever be enough. But I'm sorry. Zara felt tears on her own face now, hot and fast. You should have told me. I know. I could have handled it. I know. You took away my choice. I know. He looked at her directly, unflinching. I was selfish. Wanted to keep you as long as I could before you learned to hate me. Which you did anyway. Which I deserved. I don't hate you. The words came out before she could stop them. True and terrible. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I don't. What do you feel? She considered the question. Looked up at the bridge, her bridge, their bridge, a structure built on tension and balance. I feel like we're two people from different worlds who tried to meet in the middle and set everything on fire in the process. I feel like you hurt me. I feel like you saved me. I feel like both things are true at the same time and I don't know what to do with that. Min Jae nodded slowly. That's fair. I need you to know something. She stepped closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. When I designed this bridge, I was thinking about my father, about you, about how structures hold contradictions, tension and compression, flexibility and strength. How the most beautiful things exist because opposing forces find equilibrium. She paused. I think we were trying to be that. A bridge between worlds. But we weren't ready. We didn't have the foundation. And now I have a foundation. In Lagos, my firm is growing. I'm building things that matter. I'm not lost anymore. That's good. That's really good. He meant it. She could hear it in his voice. Genuine happiness with no expectation underneath. What about you? I'm finding my foundation. It's slow. It's hard. Some days I wake up and still feel like I'm in that conference room, surrounded by guns and choices I can't take back. But then I teach a class, and some kid draws something beautiful, and I remember why I wanted to live differently. He smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. Your father's case was reopened officially. Full investigation. They're listing it as homicide now, not accident. It's on record. His name is being cleared. Zara's hand flew to her mouth. You did that. Nari and I both. It was the least we could do. It doesn't bring him back. But it's truth. And truth matters. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of everything said and unsaid hanging between them like the bridge cables overhead. Suspended, holding, connecting. I don't know if I can forgive you, Zara said finally. Not completely. Not yet. Maybe not ever. What your family did. What you hid. It's too big. I understand. But I don't want to hate you either. Hate is exhausting. And you're trying. I can see that you're trying. I am. Every day. She took a breath. So maybe we start over. Not as lovers. Not even as friends. Just as two people who know each other's worst moments and are trying to do better. Can we do that? Min-jae looked at her like she just handed him something precious and fragile. I'd like that. I'd really like that. No expectations. None. No grand gestures. Never been my style anyway. She laughed, surprised by the sound. Felt good. Normal. Like maybe healing wasn't a destination but a direction. The ceremony began. Officials spoke. Cameras flashed. The bridge was officially opened with ribbon cutting and champagne. And when they asked Zara to say a few words, she stood at the podium and spoke from the heart. This bridge is called a Denise promise. My father, Marcus Denis, believed that architecture could change the world. That structures could carry more than weight, they could carry meaning, hope, connection. She looked out at the crowd, found Min-jae in the back, standing quietly. He also believed in redemption, that people could change, that mistakes didn't have to be permanent. This bridge stands because opposing forces found balance. I think that's what he'd want us to remember, that light and shadow can exist together, that beauty can come from tension, that we can build new things from old pain. The crowd applauded, but she wasn't speaking to them. She was speaking to herself, to Min-jae, to her father's memory, to everyone trying to build something good from broken pieces. After the ceremony, as the sun set over Seoul, Zara and Min-jae walked across the bridge together, not holding hands, not touching, just walking side by side, two people learning how to exist in each other's orbit without combusting. Will you come back? Min-jae asked. To Seoul, I mean, for work or... Maybe. I have another project in Tokyo next year. I could stop through. I'd like that. We could get coffee. At Moonlight Brew. If it's still open. Is it? Sold it 8 months ago. But the new owner kept the name. Kept the art. Still there. Still warm. Then maybe. Coffee. Nothing more. Nothing more, he agreed. They reached the other side of the bridge, stood at the edge looking back at where they'd started. The city lights were coming on, Seoul transforming from day to night, concrete to constellation. Thank you, Min-jae said quietly, for coming, for building this, for not hating me as much as you could. Thank you for trying to be better, for telling the truth even when it destroyed everything. That took courage. Or stupidity. Sometimes those are the same thing. He laughed, and she laughed, and for a moment it felt like maybe, eventually, they'd be okay. Not together. Not the way they'd once imagined. But okay in separate orbits that occasionally intersected. Which was its own kind of love. Quieter. Sadder. But real. Zara flew back to Lagos the next morning. Didn't say goodbye again. Didn't need to. Some endings aren't endings, they're pauses. Ellipses instead of periods. And maybe that's enough. 6 months later, she got a postcard. No return address. Just a sketch. The bridge at sunrise, rendered in charcoal, all light and shadow and negative space. On the back, one line. Still drawing. Still trying. Still grateful you existed. MJ. She put it on her desk. Left it there. A reminder that some loves teach you how to be better, even when they can't teach you how to be together. And she smiled, because that was enough too. Now, before you click away, I need you to do something. If this story made you feel anything, and I mean anything, whether it was anger or hope or that specific ache that comes from loving someone you can't have, hit that subscribe button. Because stories like this, stories about complicated love and hard choices and redemption that doesn't fix everything but means something anyway, these stories matter. Comment below and tell me, could you forgive someone like Min-jae? Would you build a bridge back to someone who hurt you? And smash that like button if you believe people can change, even when changing destroys everything they knew. Turn on notifications because next week, we're diving into another story about love that crosses borders and breaks rules and asks the question, when is sacrifice strength, and when is it just fear in disguise? But here's what I want to leave you with. The real question this story asks, can love exist between two people from different worlds without one of them losing themselves? Is it possible to bridge cultures, identities, and histories without someone paying a price too high to measure? And if redemption is real, if people can genuinely change, Does that erase what they've done? Or does it just mean they've learned to live with the weight? Zara and Min Jae's story doesn't answer these questions. It just asks them. And maybe that's the point. Maybe love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone whose brokenness fits with yours in a way that makes you both want to heal. Even if that healing means walking away. Even if it means building bridges you'll never cross together. So tell me, what would you have done? Would you have stayed in Seoul that night Min Jae asked you not to go? Would you have built the bridge? Or would you have let the past bury itself? Would you have forgiven? Or would you have chosen to protect your heart? There's no right answer, just your answer. And that's what makes us human. That's what makes us alive.